With the release of the Ruin DLC, everyone's favorite character, Candy Cadet, has made a return.
Come get your candy here.
While most people believe this is simply an Easter egg put in for those who played Pizzeria Simulator, I believe his inclusion serves a greater purpose. The stories Candy Cadet told in Pizzeria Sim were, and still are, heavily debated. The fanbase can't seem to agree on what they're supposed to mean. Now, you might be asking, how does his Ruin cameo explain anything from Pizzeria Simulator? But to answer that, let's first dissect the story he tells us in Ruin. In order to hear the story at all, we first need to collect these, Faz tokens. These are the very same Faz tokens from Pizzeria Sim, and to prove that, we only need to look at the description. Old and outdated, a collector's item. If these were just replica tokens for the sake of the VR games, would they really be considered collector's items? I mean, the VR games might be a little aged at this point, but for such an obscure item to be considered a collector's item, I think that's a bit far. This also suggests that this Candy Cadet is the same one from Pizzeria Sim, if the entire location being present wasn't enough for you. The story he tells talks about a mother and a son who live in the woods. Outside, there's a scary monster. Because her son is afraid of it, the mother locks the monster in the basement and sings her son a lullaby to drown out the noise it makes. After some time, the monster learns the lullaby, and while the mother is out of the house, the monster sings it and her son opens the door. If the story sounds familiar, that's because it is. Candy Cadet is telling us the story of the game that we're playing. Ruin, a game where a monster learns to sound like someone we trust, luring us down to the basement in order to open the door and let it escape. The reason he's here to tell us the story is to help us understand that this is what Candy Cadet does. He tells you the story of what's currently happening. Keep that in mind while we summarize the plot of Pizzeria Simulator. The story of Pizzeria Simulator is about a person, Henry, trying to free or save the souls trapped in 4 animatronics and Michael after. His plan is to bring them all together in one place and burn them in order to finally allow them to rest. This should destroy the animatronics and free the souls inside. Now, let's take a look at the stories Candy Cadet tells us in the middle of this plan. The first is about a woman who is locked in a room with a furnace and 5 keys. She's told that there are 5 kids trapped and she can take only 1 key in order to free only 1 child. Because she instead wants to free all of the children, she melts the 5 keys together into 1. It doesn't work, and she fails. The second story is about a man who would visit 5 orphans. He was worried that someone might break into one of their houses, so in the hopes of saving them from this, he brings them all together in one place to live with him. One day, while he's out, his house is broken into and all 5 are killed. In order to bury them, he's forced to stitch them all together in the one coffin he can afford.
That night, there was a knock at the door.
The last story is about a little boy who finds 5 kittens and brings them home. After his pet snake kills all the kittens, he pieces the remains together and puts it in a shoebox. As the FNAF Ultimate Guide specifically points out, all 3 of these stories are about 5 things merging into one. Ultimate Custom Night also emphasizes this idea, as the deactivated Candy Cadet in the office can, at random, briefly activate and deliver small quotes of his stories. Here's one that caught my eye.
He pieced the remains together.
All of these stories are about one person wanting to release or protect 5 beings. The first story has the main character using fire to combine 5 keys, and the others have them combining the remnants of those they tried to keep alive. 5 things becoming one. All 3 of these stories show the main characters failing in their goals. The orphan story even suggests the child amalgamation returns to the man's home that night. Henry wants to release the souls trapped in 5 beings. In his plan to do so, he brings the 5 together in one place. Each contains the remnants of at least 1 soul. In his attempt to free them and lay them to rest, he uses fire to burn them. We all want to believe that he succeeded, but Candy Cadet's stories suggest otherwise. In Candy Cadet's story, Henry fails. None of the spirits are released, and instead, the 5 things have become one. An amalgamation of animatronic parts, agony, and possibly remnant. I say possibly remnant because of this small bit claiming that high temperatures might destroy it, but we've already seen remnants survive a fire before. So Henry's plan fails, but he's combined the animatronics and souls. What do they combine into? Personally, I think this is the origin of the Tangle. It also explains why we see evidence of the children's souls being present throughout the Pizzaplex. It's because they are still present to some extent, although what degree of autonomy they each have is questionable. The nature of the Tangle, even if we say that we know these are its origins, is questionable at best. We can't say for sure that there's any remnant left at all. It could just be a bunch of agony looking to acquire as much spiritual energy as it can. If there is any remnant left, we don't know if the spirits are whole, we don't know if the spirits are aware of what's happening, and there's no way to know who is in control.